just a quick final bit on this sort of area of the Lions tour. We're talking about the issues for the home nations, but there's a lot of difficulties in South Africa getting their team together this time. We haven't had the best record over the 120 years of history playing against South Africa, but is this our opportunity?
It's been over 500 days since the Springboks last played together. They must be so bored, probably, of talking about the win in Japan, because most professional athletes, which I can't claim to be one, but Rachel, you kind of want to always look forward. You can't just always regale about what you've done, and they've got issues. I mean, some people will say, well, the Lions, the team that they put out, they want to play together before, but they have been incredibly disrupted. You must remember that maybe 6 to 8 players are playing regularly in Europe. You look at the kind of Faf Clerks, Lou Diagas, they are playing regularly, but there are a clutch of players based in South Africa who are barely playing, and they've got key players like Andre Pollard's been out with an ACL injury since September. He's just about ready to come back. Peter Steph du Toit, who's the kind of world player of the year, he's been out. He nearly had a leg amputated. He had such a serious injury last year. So some of their players, you could say, are going to be very, very ring rusty. But, in Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Nienaber, they've got 2 very, very smart coaches, and you can't discount the South African pride. I mean, again, if anyone remembers that 2009 tour, the second test, it was like 6 Lions players were in hospital after that second test. It was probably the most brutal test ever. Dislocated shoulders, cheekbones gone. It was, they don't mess around over in South Africa. If you've seen the likes of Eben Etzebeth and Archie Snyman, guys who are at 6'8", they are absolute monsters. So Gats is going to have to take a fairly abrasive physical side over there, albeit one that's, you could say, is undercooked.
I'm still not sure though, because until the results are in, if South Africa get beat, it's because they were ring rusty and didn't get rugby and they weren't together. If they win, it's because they were fresh and they weren't mentally exhausted. And it's how can you predict? Look at the Lions tours since '97. How could we have seen that car crash coming? How could we have seen what happened in New Zealand? It's so difficult. And that Lions squad, with that mix of coaches, I'm really interested to see how that mix of coaches goes, because there's some pretty experienced guys who have been on Lions tours and been part of Gatland's squad, and now they're not there. So some of the players returning are coming into what is a reasonably fresh environment. It might be quite refreshing to get into that situation with other players, with other experiences. The challenge of South Africa, which they've not had for, there's not been the autumn test to get involved in. So I think they'll be ready for a punt at it. The South Africa in their own back garden, they are going to come hell for leather. And like you've said, Owen, it's going to be brutal.